very community-oriented activity, and it's entirely driven out of the foundation, and there's zero product linkage to that. I actually think it's quite a long-term and visionary approach to intimacy, and that's understanding that you can't just be building the relationships with those you're trying to close in this 90-day period, but you need to make sure you're shoring up the pipeline and reputation you need longer term as well. So let me move super quick. Thought leadership. I'll give you one case study around this. This will be a pretty strong focus in the book as well, but Adobe, I thought, was a pretty interesting example to share with you guys. Adobe purchased a company called Omniture for just under $2 billion a few years ago. And if I was to say Adobe to most of you on the call and ask you what Adobe did, the vast majority of you would likely feedback something like, you know, they make Photoshop and they do Flash and it's about pretty websites and things like that. But what Adobe worked out pretty quickly is the outcome clients were looking for, go back to the first observation, wasn't pretty pictures on a website. It was the right pictures at the right time for the right customers for the right amount of time to make sure they drove purchasing decisions. And that's much more around data and analytics than it is around image capture and video creation and web development. So Adobe very quickly realized they needed to be in the business of driving e-commerce, not in the business of selling software. So they bought Omniture and a couple of other smaller acquisitions, which are essentially analytics platforms for e-commerce. Problem was nobody knew or thought of Adobe in that conversation. And so Adobe had to be very, very aggressive and very, very proactive in the market if they were going to win and grow share in this space to position the Adobe brand as a legitimate provider and, in fact, a strategic provider of these kinds of solutions. And they basically hired a SWAT team. It was about almost 30 people strong.